Hello and welcome to MLOps Minutes. So in this video we're going to set up a function that gives money with two test cases. We'll be able to cover it unitarily and see how the code coverage evolves. Here we go. So here we are again using the same solution template that we used to train ourselves in unit testing and set up a small bank PI file. And in it we're going to create a donDessous function. In English it means gives some money with two parameters, which is an integer. B will also be an integer and will return not a plus b. We're already going to type the return, which will be an integer. We'll put in a first case where when a is greater than 10, we'll return a plus b plus 6. That's it. And if not, we'll return a plus b plus 2. And that's it. That's how we define the function. Now we're going to test this function. Let's name things a little better. Let's say the donDessous function gives some money. Let's create a function with a slightly better name. So I'm obliged to always prefix with test because the unit test framework has this prerequisite. Otherwise, the function won't be tested. So we'll say it must return 4 when is equal to 2 and put a in 1 and b is 1. That's itself. And now what are we going to do? Well, Copilot comes up with a solution that suits me just fine. I'm missing an import, so I do Alt-Enter. I import my function. That suits me very, very well too. I'm very happy. And I'll be able to run this test. There you go. It runs fine. It's perfect. Now I want to see the code coverage of this function. First of all, I'm going to delete the functions that don't serve any purpose. Here in the requirements.txt file, I first added a coverage package. And what I've done is pip install -r requirements.txt, and I'm still in the same virtual environment as in my previous videos. That's all there is to it. So now to launch my coverage package, I'm going to do the Python command, python-m to load the coverage module, run, which in turn launches the unit test module with the test.demo_test hit. That's it. It's been executed, and now we can see that I've created a small database containing information on the code coverage of my code. To display it, what I can do is do python-m coverage report, and I can see that I have 64% code coverage on my bank.py file. I can also display it in HTML format by doing coverage HTML, and then I'll have a little more information. I do explore. To open my Explorer in the current directory, I can then see the generated index.toml, which opens my browser, and inside I can see the files and my file of interest bank.py. And there I can see that I've got the case that's been covered in green and the case that hasn't been covered in red. That's perfect. I've only got one more case to cover. So I'm going to go back to my function, and what I'm going to do to go faster is copy and paste. So we'll do hop, we'll come back, lower the notation, we'll do this, returns 20 when A is 14 and B is 0. That way it's a little simpler. 14, 0, and it returns 20. I could go into debug mode, but I'm confident I'll do it. I'll run my unit test with my shortcut. Now what happens is that the small database needs updating. I could try running the HTML tests again, but first I need to update my little database. So that's what I do. I play my unit test. And now I can replay my report. Now I've got 100% code coverage on my file. And I regenerate the HTML version so I can refresh it. And now everything's in green, so I'm pretty confident that my function is very well tested, and that's super handy. So what's important is that we'll be able to play these commands automatically elsewhere than on my machine, on a continuous integration system such as GitHub Action, which will enable me to constantly have metrics on the test coverage of my code, and that's very important information. Thank you very much, and see you soon for future videos.